All right. You're listening to Wedding and Event Insider. My name's Paul Cram. I'm actually sitting in today for Matt Sherry and Michelle Twerberg, and I'm joined by the always wonderfully fun to talk to Elizabeth Sherry.
What does it mean for the wedding and event industry? I don't care what situation you're in, you can do something simple.
I gotta say, I actually still love weddings.
Elizabeth, I also see you have a little friend. You have somebody with you.
Yeah, this is Evelyn Sherry. She's our new addition to our family. She's about 6 weeks old right now, and so I'm on maternity leave. So Matt and Michelle can't join us because they're very, very busy. So this new mother of four is not as busy as you would think that I can do this podcast, and happy to chat and share some advice.
Oh, I know that you're busy. So, I mean, I appreciate you being here. I know all the listeners appreciate it too. I'm actually really excited because we're going to be able to talk about some things that are so in your specific wheelhouse. I don't know if everybody knows this, but you have quite the extensive background in catering and in venues. Can you give
Yeah,
me just a little bit of a snippet of what that past life or has looked like for you?
absolutely. Really, my passion was first dove into catering right when I was out of college, and that was quite the education, and an education that I feel like really helped expand my career. And then I started to go into more specific venues through my catering side. So some of those being the Van Dusen Mansion is where I spent a lot of my time and doing a
Yeah.
ton of weddings there. And then I was over at the Guthrie Theater doing a mixture of weddings and some really great galas and corporate functions to now lend into my corporate, 9 to 5 life as an event planner.
Yes.
But at my work currently, I am the venue sourcer. I go to venues and I just like a couple would when they go and look for a venue for their wedding day, I do that for 50 events a year. And so I make sure that
Ooh.
it's exactly what we need for our function. So today I really want to share with you about what are the great questions to ask, especially since this is something that you're doing. You don't do it as a career like me. They're doing it one off time. And I want to make sure that you're asking the right questions because I think sometimes when I was on the venue host side, the question that I would get that was the funniest to me is, what am I not asking? Like a couple would say to me, what did I not ask? And it's like, there's like 1,000 things in my head. I don't know
Right.
what you specifically need. So these questions could relate to you, or they could just be something that, you could lend as advice to your friends or something. But
Oh, I know some of what's coming, and I think it's gonna be really really great. I actually am curious. So, did you have like a go-to answer for that question when people would say that to you? Like, what am I not asking that I should ask?
yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the things would be the kind of the questions that I'm going to say is that I would tell them, here are all, and I'll go into my first point really. Here are all the hidden fees. And when I say hidden fees, here's all the things that you probably didn't realize might be a fee. Like we at certain venues had a ceremony fee just because it's added labor, and that
Okay.
included ceremony setup and labor.
Yeah.
So those are the things that right away, and of course, don't want to speak money to it. But when you start finding that venue that really is like, oh, this feels good, but how much does it cost? Because that's a real question. How much does it cost? So besides the day of the week, which could actually save you thousands of their pricing structure, like what their rental rate is. So you can choose maybe a Friday to be a little bit cheaper than a Saturday. There are also hidden fees that, and not hidden, they'll disclose it, but I say there's about 30 pieces of paper they probably hand you on a venue tour, and you're supposed to read it all. And that's really hard. So, is there a ceremony setup fee? Is there a room flip fee? Is there additional labor? Is there items in their decor treasure box that cost something? Do you have a decor treasure box left over from clients that we
Ah,
can access?
got it.
These are all great things to ask them. And usually a lot of them are happy to disclose. In fact, would rather have that than be surprised later on. So that one is number one. Talk about fees. What does it mean? And feel free to explore that with that venue person.
I love that. I love that. And it's so easy. What are all the fees? Include the hidden fees. does it cost money to rent that thing that we saw that was really cool in the back? Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, if you wanted to say to them, can you just draw me up what it would look like to get married on X date with all of the things that I told you that I love, and send it over to me via email. That way you have no surprises when you go to contract. That they'll give you everything that you need to know. So I think that that's the best approach. And that way you have it all in writing.
Writing is good. And I think that there was something that you said that in there that I'm hoping that you can expound on just a smidge. I know that you can, but it was the day of the week. I think there's even more that can be done with that, right?
Yeah. So day of the week. So most couples get married on the weekends. So yes, there's going to be a primo date is going to be a Saturday. Then it's probably going to be a Friday, and then it's going to be a Sunday. And then heck, if you want to explore what Monday through Thursday weddings look like for rental rate, that's awesome too. So those are going to be the hierarchy. And then it also is time of year. Minnesota having a peak time of year is May through October. They're going to be more premium time, a more premium rate for that summer month. Especially for those venues that are outdoor. And then the off season, as we call it, is going to be a little bit less. And can we all just embrace winter weddings, please? I'm not trying to just say like write you off as, you need to save money, but they are so, so beautiful. And we have an asset here in Minnesota. So I'm just going to say, start that trending now, please, everyone.
Yes. And just so that I know, because I kind of think that I know, but when is the off season for the Twin Cities for weddings?
Yeah, off season is going to be really when you start seeing colder temperatures. So that middle October, end of October to late April, May, early May.
Got it.
Sometimes people are just going to say May through October, blanket is going to be those, on season rates. And then everything else is off season.
Awesome. I love it. I appreciate you explaining that. So let's dive through some more of these tips. What would you say is the next thing on people's list that they should ask?
Always ask if they have on-site catering or an exclusive catering list or exclusive caterer or a list of vendors that they or especially caterers. And do they have to be a licensed caterer if they have an open policy? So when I say an open policy, is anyone allowed to come in, any restaurant, anyone that you've ever known or worked with or, whatever, able to come in? Most times, if that is the case, it does need to be a licensed provider. So just keep that in mind that you can't have grandma cook for your 100-person wedding. Most times people are going to ex-nay that one. But
even though it would be delicious, I'm sure that your grandmother would
grandma's cooking is always the best, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, grandma probably doesn't operate out of a licensed kitchen or have the business practice that you would need.
Right.
So I would say then if they have an open catering policy and have a list, just so those people have usually been scouted by the venue host, have had tastings with those companies. So they've been vetted. They're not just 20 that they, rubbed elbows with at one time. And usually it's about a list of 3 to 4, so it's not overwhelming to you.
Got it.
If they have an exclusive partner and they're not doing their own food, just so you know, catering a large event is a really difficult thing. So that's why they go to a person like a company that does this for a living, but does it for an exclusive property. So that's why it's not like a hotel that has their own kitchen in-house. Sometimes these things are a lot more specialty. Sometimes the venues are a lot trickier to operate out of. So it's not as, rinse and repeat and as easy as you would think it would be.
Right. Some of those behind the scene things, like there's a reason why.
Yes. I have catered out of back stairways and the craziest little nooks and crannies you could possibly imagine because the venue can't manage that. There's no kitchen there. So there's a reason why a caterer cooks in a facility and then brings it to you and then is experts in how to do that properly.
Love it. So it's worth the money that you're paying, generally speaking.
Yes.
That is really cool. So what do you have next for us?
Yeah, one of the things that have been, it's over a decade now, it's been this way, but those bridal getting ready suites for, the bridal party, the wedding party as a whole are such a nice asset, but feel free to ask them, what is the earliest that you can get in? Because sometimes venues will allow you in around noon. But truthfully, your hair and makeup, and depending on your timeline, you need to start that as early as like 7, 8 a.m.
Ooh,
So if
ooh, ooh, ooh.
exactly, so it's like either additional fees for getting in early? Is it an hourly fee? Can I just get in early? Those types of questions are great. And then also talk about the end of the night. What time do we need to wrap up? What
Mhm.
time does music need to be off? There are some venues that have noise ordinances for outdoor spaces. So what time is that ending? And then can we still go inside and finish our dance? And then to what time that is? So if you are, I have worked with couples who are like, hey, our group likes to party and they want to be out until 1 or 2 a.m. That's fantastic. Not every venue is going to let you go past a certain point, but there are venues that will do it and they might do it for a fee. So, and when you see fees add up in the wedding industry, just know that it's labor, and they have to have those fees because we can't just have couples asked to go until 2 a.m. and incur the cost of what it would be, which is additional security, bartender, a server. They're all of the people that make it so your guests are having fun and they're doing it safely. So
Right,
that's the reason
right.
for those additional fees, and why you might feel nickel and dimed is because we as an industry want to be flexible to what the client wants, and flexibility does require a not a one size fits all. Here's your price. There is a little wavering. Here's some
Yeah.
additional fees because you wanted this additional.
That
So
makes so much sense, especially
that
if you're wanting to get into that getting ready room at 7 a.m. and
yeah,
the
yeah.
wedding the night before went till 3 a.m. Somebody had to pick up so that everything was ready for you at 7 a.m. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, the turnaround time can be tight. And of course, you want to have staff there to welcome, to greet you, and have a great, clean space.
Right.
So, yes, all of those things. So, that's one of the things I would definitely ask. Um, you know, for me, I'm a little bit neurotic and a little bit of a control freak. So, one of my favorite things to ask, and this is in corporate planning, like it was when I was doing wedding planning as well, is ask the venue host what their response time is, or what their preferred way of communication is, whether it be email, phone, text, or day of the week that you can reach
Oh,
them.
interesting.
And here's why: it's a wedding industry. We're a weekend business and we're nighttime business. So when I have a client and I want to give them my full attention, I'm not looking at email. I'm not able to take a phone call that's not for that specific wedding. I want to
Yep.
be able to, as a future client, give you my time and thoughtfulness at the right time. So that's why I'll say usually Tuesday at X amount of time, or reach me between this window of time.
Right. Right.
Or if it's something super dire, really quick, I always shared my cell phone number. That's not something that every venue person wants to do, but it's a good way to have just some quick communication, and then, feel at ease that you are a priority. So that would be a good question to ask in general if you are thinking that a week response time is not okay, or 2 days is not okay.
Yeah, no, and that I mean, in my day to day, the work I'm not working specifically in the wedding industry. I'm doing, some other things
Mhm.
here and there with branding and stuff. But if it's after 5 p.m., I'm not going to respond. So
Mhm.
it sounds like in the especially in the wedding planning industry world, I'm assuming that a lot of people are going to be reaching out to you at some odd hours. Yeah.
Oh, true. Yeah, I actually really enjoy the emails that come in from 9 to 5, because that means to me, if they have a normal 9 to 5 job, that they're doing wedding planning during their work hours. So I always kind of found that funny. It's like, all right, you do you.
Okay, you do.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, those people who are probably on the floor workers like I was when I was doing weddings and events. If you're a nurse, if you're a teacher, you don't have time to be, talking during the day to your people. So absolutely,
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where you can, you know, email them and say, I know you're busy, or I know you're not going to respond for a
Right.
couple of days, just because you've had that conversation.
Asking them that question is super smart, just to know
Yeah.
what you're dealing with, and so then you don't maybe have to be like, oh my gosh, you won't have to worry so much. Those are
Yeah.
really really good tips, Elizabeth. I am curious, like, you specifically, like, let's say if I wanted to hire you to plan a wedding, is that
Mm.
possible in your world right now?
um,
Or where would somebody go to get someone like you?
Yes, great question. Yeah, we have a lot of great wedding coordinators and planners in our TCWP group. So that's Twin Cities
Okay,
Wedding and Event Professionals group. And
perfect.
I absolutely recommend 100% a wedding coordinator, wedding planner, especially if you're a person. So you could almost do a little checklist in your head. Are you decisive? Are you organized? Are you great at communicating? If the answer to any of these are no, then you need a planner,
Yes.
because if you
Yes.
have a full-time job and you maybe you're adding in a move, or I've heard people finishing their masters while planning a wedding, that's too much. It's way too much. So
Hmm.
give yourself the gift of a planner or a day of coordinator. It is truly a gift. And if somebody asks you what they can give you as a gift, say, how about a wedding coordinator? That's a great answer. And so one last thing that I do want to send off as a fantastic tip is always ask a venue, especially if you're going down to like 2 or 3 venues in your head and you and your partner are like, ooh, which one do we want to do? Ask the venue, what is their number one asset? What is their thing that they're the most proud of? The response is very open ended, and it tells you a lot about who they are and the passion that they have for what they do. Because if the answer is not so fluffy or warm, or you can't sense the tone of, I'm so proud of X. Like if somebody were to ask me, I would
It's
say in my previous life, especially
mhm.
at the Guthrie, I am so proud of our food. Our food is exceptional. Our service is phenomenal. And I would say that about my other places too. Service is phenomenal.
The service of
So
the food. Oh, that's cool.
exactly, exactly. So if that to you, it's like, oh, that's exactly what I want to work with, is somebody who has great staff and great food.
Hmm.
Then you knew that maybe my answer was maybe better than somebody else's that didn't really resonate with you. So just ask that question. Doesn't hurt. Curious to see what they say.
I love that. I love that question too, because it's you're gonna get different answers. I
Mhm.
think I think that's a very
Yeah,
interesting.
my favorite one that I've asked in their response was, "We have really great parking." I'm like, okay, like like of all the assets, hey, parking is a good one, but it's like that's what you're most boastful about, is your parking. Now, granted,
Your parking.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I was just
Okay.
like, okay,
I'm not knocking it, because I mean in some
yeah,
ways it's like that's really cool, but huh.
yeah, but
Okay.
you're competing against maybe somebody else who gave a response that gave you the warm feels. Like we take great care of your guests. Like we go above
Yes.
and beyond to
Yes.
make sure that grandma has a good time and she's well taken care of. So,
That's really interesting.
mhm.
I'm surprised by the parking answer. That said, like if parking was super hard for your wedding, that would be a downer too, but maybe yeah, taking care of grandma would be would be more of where I would go. Yeah, this has
Mhm.
been really good information, Elizabeth. Um do you have anything else to let people know before we let them go?
Well, I hope I didn't bore you with this information, because I can tell you right now that my kid is snoring. So I apparently bored her. So
Oh,
I
she's
just,
adorable.
thank you. But if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at info@tcwep.com. I'm happy to explore or elaborate on any of these, or even talk you through some other options that you can ask as far as your vineyard tour and beyond. So feel free to
Yeah.
reach out to us. I really appreciate the time, Paul.
Yeah, I appreciate it too, Elizabeth. And I'm just going to piggyback on what you said. People can find us at tcwp.com. Like Elizabeth mentioned, you can find vendors there too. So go to
Mhm.
tcwp.com, take a look. You might find your next wedding planner there. All right, everybody. Thanks so much.